Hey folks, I'm Mike. Do you hate ads? I hate ads. You know what I like? Patreon.com/Inkdependence. It keeps this blog ad-free. Hello and welcome to Inkdependence.com. Today we're taking a look at this ink. This is from the Lamy Crystal ink selection. These are a newish series of inks. I don't think they're going anywhere or limited or anything. I think they're just kind of a upper tier of Lamy inks. If you haven't used Lamy inks before, they're usually surprisingly good. The blue is kind of lackluster, but it's a perfectly good blue. The black is nice. The turquoise is great, etc. The Lamy Crystal inks, I have two of these to show. I'll be getting to Peridot in the nearest future. This is Lamy Crystal Obsidian. They come in these nice boxes. These are fairly similar to the regular Lamy boxes, but the bottle inside is quite a lot different. It's like engineering in this box, man. All right. This is the Lamy Crystal Obsidian bottle. You can't really tell because it's black, but at the bottom of this, the cap rim here, it tells you what color the ink is. Also, the bottle is clear. So, while it's a nice touch, it's not super necessary. These come in 30 ml bottles, and I bought this from Dromgoole's, which is a great little shop in Houston, Texas. If you are in Houston, you got to stop by Dromgoole's and check out their pens and inks and pocket knives. It's got all the things I want in a store, honestly. And Larry and Michael and Olivia are awesome. So tell them I said hi. This ink is, there we go. Got the cap off. In this nice bottle with a big opening. You're not going to have any problems getting your nibs in there. The only problem with this ink bottle is that it's a little bit on the shallow side, I think. So maybe, I don't know, whatever. It's a nice bottle and I don't really care, but it's a little bit shallow. So if you have a very long nib, you might have to kind of go in sideways or something like that to get to the very bottom. But I think maybe better than the sailor bottles of yore. All right, also pretty bottle to display if you're into displaying bottles. I don't. I keep them in the dark in their box to protect the ink, but from light and all that sort of thing. But if you're an ink bottle displayer, Lamy crystals are quite nice. Okay, let's take a look at what this looks like on some paper, actually. And here it is. I was drawn to Obsidian because while some black inks can be boring, there are lots of black inks which are very cool and sort of, I don't know, people don't look at them all that often because nah, black ink, whatever. But this one, as you can see, is pretty darn neat. You get all kinds of interesting bits in here. You got little bits of sheen, you've got little bits of shading, that sort of thing. And I don't really see any shading in the text I wrote. I have this in 3 pens right now. I've had it in a couple others since I've been using it, but right now it's in 3. So, and they're all very different. So hopefully that'll give you a good gamut. So this is my regular Rhodia 80 grams per square meter pad. This flow, I kind of struggle with how to describe this because I say it's kind of dry, but it's not exactly dry. I think it's just a very saturated ink. I mean, it's dark. This is a dark black. And so I think it might just be a little bit saturated. And so in finer nibs, I've had a little bit of trouble getting it to flow well, but it's not exactly dry. It's just it's an odd ink, I suppose. But I think I like it, but it's a little bit strange. Okay. Performance, pretty good on the 20 pound, though bleedy and the big nibs. So let's talk about the pins I have it in before we get to this other stuff. Occasional sheen, we already got that. So firstly, I have in this Waterman Careen. This is a cursive italic. I love the look of this pen. I don't love the nib. I may have to get Audrey to alter it a little bit or something for me. It is a stub that has been turned into a cursive italic. And I bought it at auction, and man, I wish it had just been a stub instead of being turned into a cursive italic because I have trouble writing with those with my writing angle. But the writing comes out pretty darn well. I do have, if you look closely, and you can see this on the static blog a bit better perhaps, it gets real thin and it looks like it almost skips in a couple of places. Really, I think that's just because I'm not good at writing with a cursive italic nib, and I tend to rotate a little bit, and so it doesn't get good ink flow. So I think that's really on my hand and not the pen or the ink, because I haven't had any problems with the flow in this pen at all. In this pen, this is a Sailor 1911 Mosaic from their original run back in the day, and this has a music stub on it. Right here, you can see this in my music nibs video. It's my Sailor music nib. And this one has had no problems with flow. Of course, it's a music nib. It's very wet. It's pretty broad. And as you can see here, it really throws down the ink, and it looks good. The third pen I've had this in is this one. And this is a Ryan Krusak Legend. This is an L14, but it's a long L14. It barely fits in my frame here. And this one has a fine nib on it. It has a fine Yovo, and I think this is actually a very fine when it comes right down to it. And I actually had some problems getting this ink to flow in this pen. So I added a little bit of this stuff. This is called White Lightning, and this is sold by Van Ness, and you can get it from some other places. But shoot, there's a Kodak like photo something, but anyway, it basically improves the flow a bit. And so I put some into a sample vial and Obsidian with White Lightning, and I put a drop or so of White Lightning in here, and then filled this pen with it, and I haven't had any problems since. So you get very much finer lines. See how much finer this is? I mean, this is a music stub or whatever, but it's so fine. And so I think maybe this nib is a little bit dry, and it's a little bit fine, and this ink is a little bit saturated, and so it just wasn't a great combo. So I added some of this, and it seems to have worked out pretty darn well. It's hard to demonstrate how this works if you don't have the same pen twice with the same, anyway, but it does. So anywho, that's what I've had. So let's take a look at this this copy paper here. Copy paper sample, and this is of course the 3. I did get a little bit of feathering here and there from the music stub. You can see a little bit there, a little bit here. Like there's a little bit in a few places, but remember, this is a very wet nib on crappy paper. This is 20 pounds, it's 30% recycled. It's just your cheapo office paper that you get by the case, the ream. Not the ream, the case of paper. From the Modishaw Cursive Italic, I didn't get very many problems at all. There may be a couple of little feathers. There's a couple down here, but not too many. It's pretty darn good. And then, of course, from the fine nib, no problems at all. It got a little bit thin here, like it just kind of didn't want to really flow very well. I think this nib just needs to be opened up a little bit for my taste. But if you look at the back of the paper, you get a few little, a little bit of bleeding here from wherever I stopped writing. But when you go to the cursive italic and, of course, the fine, no problems at all. So I'm going to say it works pretty well on copy paper, just maybe don't use a music stub with it. That is a suboptimal combo. So can you see any of the sheen in this stuff? Yeah, you can see some sheen in your normal writing, which is nice. There are a couple other blacks that have come out recently, and we'll look at a whole bunch of samples of different black inks here in a little bit. And they've come out with some sheen and some other like underlying color, perhaps. And, I think that's pretty neat. It's all good when we have ink that is surprising to us. All right, so let's do a water test. Let's take a look at chromatography. And there we go. So let's put a little bit on here. Get some on them words. Words. While we're waiting for that, let's see if this starts up. This one is the one that's a little bit reticent. So, yeah, no problems. No problems at all. So, a little bit of White Lightning. Fix even your your stubborn nibs. Okay, let's blot this away. You can see it's already doing some stuff. Let's see what kind of water resistance we have here. I think we'll have a little bit. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit messy, and a lot of it came up. Oh. There we go. A little bit messy, and a lot of it came up on the paper towel, but yeah, definitely still readable. I'm going to say it has a little bit of water resistance. I mean, it's going to smear and stuff, and it will not look great if you pour water on it, but the lines and the dots and the words are all still visible, so pretty good. Okay, this is the chromatography for this ink, and it is just straight up, this is a black ink, y'all. Sometimes black inks will have all kinds of interesting things buried in them to make them a black ink or to give them extra character. You'll see black inks that have blues and purples and all kinds of things inside the chromatography. This one, I mean, I guess you could call this like, maybe it's a dark green. It has a little bit of a greenish tinge, I suppose. But yeah, no, this one is, it's black. Okay. Here it is on a couple of other papers. So we already saw it on the 20-pound copy paper. And here it is on, this is the Inky Fingers Currently Inked Notebook. This is, of course, wheat straw paper. As you can see in here, You have really only two of these. I didn't write down what the sailor. I don't know why, but I just didn't. So this is the Crusac, or not Crusac, the Kareen with the gunmetal Madashah Cursive Italic, and you get a little bit of like an almost blue character. You know, sometimes you see a black that's so dark it's blue. That's kind of what's going on here, I think. And you do get some nice sheen off of this paper. And then here it is in the Crusac. This is that L14 Box Elder Burr. Super gorgeous, man. Look at that. Just depth. It's gorgeous. And no problems there. Super dark black. Works perfectly well. All right. Here is an ink journal. This is a Tomoe River ink journal. And get to the right page. There they are. I also didn't... Did I not write down this? Yeah, okay, I used it here. Good. It's like, did I never write down this was at? Okay. This is the Kareen here with the Obsidian. Looks nice and dark here. Again, a little bit bluish, which is, you know, kind of weird. I'm not seeing that from any of the other ones, but this one definitely gives me a little bit of blue action. Kind of, I don't know, maybe bluish green. I don't know. It's still really dark. Of course, this one, no problems at all. The white lightning doesn't actually seem to change the characteristics of the ink except for the flow, so that's pretty nice. And then here we have the music stub, and of course it looks super, super dark black there. And as I move the page, you can see some of that sheen popping out because you do get a little bit of sheen off of this. And if you're a sheen liker, and I'm a sheen liker, that's cool. All right. All right. So let's look at a whole bunch of different ink swatches together. This is Lamy Crystal Ink Obsidian on a Color Dex card, my new favorite thing for doing ink swatches. And you can definitely see the sheen on here as well. Get that nice sort of, I don't know, it's kind of a bronzy or brassy sort of sheen. I'm into that. And then here is Colorverse Black Hole, which I got from my friend Joseph. And this one also has some nice sheen to it. I don't have a whole bottle of this, but I did do a review a little while ago. So if you want to go check that out, go for it. It's a nice black. Here we have Tasha Kuro, which I haven't had a chance to use yet. But looking at this here, I got this sample from Anderson Pens, and you get a lot of sheen in this Tasha Kuro. So I got to check that one out too. Super dark black, sheeny, nice. Here is one that I have. Brad Dowdy, the pen addict, just posted a review of this one. This is kind of Kyono Nurabiro, and this is an ink that I really wanted to like because of like the sheen and character, but I just could not make this one flow. A little bit of the old White Lightning would probably help it out too, but I don't have hardly any left because I kept trying to love it. Just never really clicked with me. Here we have Colorverse Sunspot, which I actually need to use. I don't think I've even used this yet, really. But this is a beautiful Colorverse sheeny ink. I've got bottles of this one. I need to review it soonish. There you go. All right. One last one on the Colodex cards. This is Parker Penman Ebony. A lot of I was gonna say a lot of ink gets spilled about Parker Penman Ebony or Parker Penman inks. I don't think the ebony is super special. It's a little bit of a grayish black. It's not. Doesn't have the character of like the blue or the green. Parker Penman Sapphire is sort of, you know, one of those ones everybody talks about. But Ebony, it's okay. It's fine. You get a little bit of sheen though, so I wanted to show it. All right, last two. These are not really all that much like Obsidian, but worth looking at. This one's from my friend Kimberly. This is Blackstone's Barrister Black, which is just super dark black. Like it's a shiny, super dark black. I don't know if there's anything much darker than this. If there is, it might be Aurora Black. Aurora Black is sort of a gold standard. It's a black standard in black inks. If you have a pen that is not working well, stick some Aurora Black in there and see what happens, because this is real wet, and if your nib is not totally destroyed, Aurora Black will write in that pen. So, and plus, it's just a gorgeous black, but be aware that it's very wet. So if you have a wet nib and you put this in there, fire hose time, man. All right, so this has been Lamy Crystal Obsidian, which I bought at Dromgoole's Pens in Houston. You can find them online. In fact, I'll put a link in the description. That box is too tall. I was missing my focus. There we go. So check this out online from your favorite ink purveyors or Dromgoole's. It's $16 for a 30 ml bottle, so not super cheap, but real nice ink. So there you go. Find me on the social medias. I am at Madison on Twitter. I am at Inkdependence on Instagram, and you can find my store, www.inky-d.com, for all kinds of, merch goodness. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see y'all later. Peace out.